Angel says, "My dearest listeners, the night was meant to be filled with laughter, where every moment sparkled with the warmth of friendship and joy. It was the kind of evening that promised nothing but bliss. Yet, beneath the surface of cheerful conversations, something shifted. A remark, seemingly harmless at first, cut through the air, and suddenly the laughter felt hollow. What was meant to be a celebration had turned into something much deeper. In the blink of an eye, the spirit of the evening was altered, but not by a stranger, by someone you trusted, someone you called a friend. The wound didn't come from an external force, but from within, from someone who should have known better. How could words, seemingly so small, feel so sharp? This wasn't just about what was said. It was about the hidden currents beneath it all, the truth veiled by a careless statement. And in this moment, a choice was looming. Would they let anger take over? Or would something deeper, something sacred, guide them through the storm? In the midst of it all, could grace rise above the hurt? Could love transform the pain into something healing? What came next would reveal the power of divine understanding, the kind that only the heart, whispered by the Holy Spirit, could embrace. It was a night meant for celebration, the kind of evening where friends gather, laughter fills the air, and everyone is wrapped up in a moment of joy. The warmth of togetherness and the comfort of companionship surrounded your person. Yet, what should have been a carefree night quickly turned into something unexpected. The tension didn't come from an outside force, but from a familiar place, a remark that stung more than anyone could have predicted. The night began with light-hearted fun. Your person was surrounded by close friends. The atmosphere was filled with laughter and the joy of connection. Conversations flowed like rivers of shared memories. Jokes and stories danced from one person to another, and everyone seemed to be at ease. Yet, as often happens in moments of joy, the devil, too, can seek to sow seeds of discord. What seemed like a harmless moment would soon turn into something more. In the midst of laughter, a casual comment was made by one of your person's close friends. At first, the remark seemed like nothing, a passing statement, unimportant. But when it landed, it hit hard. The words weren't just words. They cut deeper than a sword. What seemed like a trivial statement from the outside felt like an arrow aimed directly at their heart. The pain wasn't fleeting. It lingered, casting a shadow over what had been a joyful evening. The night that had been full of lightness now felt heavy, as if a storm cloud had rolled in. It's never easy when the words of someone you care for hurt you, especially when they touch on a wound you've long carried. Your person's heart raced, their mind swirling with frustration. The pain wasn't only from the sting of the comment, but from the realization that it came from someone they trusted, someone they considered a friend. This wasn't a random remark from a stranger. This was from someone they cared about deeply. It was the betrayal of trust that hurt more than the words themselves. Emotions surged through your person. There was anger. There was hurt. But above all, there was confusion. How could someone they had shared so much with make a comment so cutting, so personal? The more your person thought about it, the more their heart burned with anger. They wanted to react. They wanted to lash out, to defend themselves, to demand an apology. But as the tension built, something shifted inside them. A divine peace, a moment of clarity. The Holy Spirit whispered to their heart, reminding them of the power of grace, of patience, and of understanding. Instead of allowing anger to take control, your person took a deep breath. The Bible teaches us to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry, James 1:19. And in this moment, your person chose to embody that wisdom. Their heart wanted to fight, but their spirit sought peace. They knew that to truly live in love and faith, they had to respond in a way that would heal, not hurt. And so, with a calm and steady resolve, they stepped away from the crowd, seeking a moment of solitude. The anger still simmered inside them, but they knew they needed to pause, to pray, to seek guidance, and to let the Holy Spirit lead them. In the stillness of their heart, they turned to the friend who had spoken out of turn. With a voice that was both gentle and firm, they said, "Hey, can we talk for a minute?" The friend, taken aback by the sudden shift in tone, hesitated, but eventually nodded. The two stepped aside, leaving the chaos of the party behind them. It was clear that something needed to be addressed, but your person was determined to approach it with wisdom and grace. As they sat down, the conversation began. "I need to talk about what you said earlier." Your person started, their voice steady, but full of vulnerability. "When you called me a control freak, it really hurt me. I don't understand why you'd say something like that, especially after all we've been through together." There was a sincerity in their voice that hung in the air like a prayer. They weren't accusing the friend, but inviting them into a conversation, one built not on blame, but on the desire for understanding. Your person wasn't speaking from a place of self-righteousness. They were speaking from a heart that longed for reconciliation and healing. The friend, caught off guard by this unexpected response, struggled to find the right words. They had never seen your person in such a vulnerable state. But as they listened, the truth of the moment began to settle in their heart. They hadn't meant to cause harm, but their words had wounded deeply. "I just felt like I couldn't do anything without being watched," the friend said, their voice softer now. "Like everything I did was controlled, and I just wanted space to breathe." If you'd like to support the channel, consider using the Super Thanks option to keep this content flowing. And stay connected with Christian Motivation 1111, original channel of this message. Let's continue the message. As your person listened, they felt a profound shift within them, something deeper than words could express. This wasn't about control or asserting authority over the situation. This was about something much more sacred, an opportunity for healing and understanding. The friend wasn't attacking them. No, they were expressing a deep, heartfelt frustration that had festered from feelings of being trapped, unheard, and unseen. Your person's heart began to soften as they realized the deeper truth. The anger that had once consumed their heart began to dissolve, replaced with a profound sense of compassion. in that moment, they understood that true love is not always about defending oneself, but about humbling oneself, stepping into the other person's shoes, and seeing things through God's eyes. Instead of responding with defensiveness or anger, your person chose to listen with an open heart. They knew deep down that often when people lash out, it's not out of a desire to hurt others, but because they are hurting inside. The pain they are experiencing has nowhere to go, so it erupts in the form of harsh words or actions. This was a divine moment, a moment to practice empathy, to offer grace, and to be a vessel of understanding. Your person stepped into this moment leaning into God's calling for compassion. They realized that this wasn't about control. It was about offering support. It was about seeing the other person as they truly were, vulnerable, afraid, and in need of love. With a heart full of empathy and grace, your person gently asked, "Is there something you've been struggling with? Is there something you haven't been able to ask for? I want to understand." The words weren't harsh, nor were they a command. They were a soft invitation, a prayer for healing and connection. And in that moment, the friend, taken aback by the gentleness of the question, began to see your person in a new light. They had never expected such a response, one that wasn't rooted in anger or hurt, but one that was filled with the desire for healing and restoration. They had expected defensiveness, but instead they found a well of compassion. And in that divine moment, the friend saw your person for who they truly were, not someone who controlled, but someone who cared deeply. The friend's heart began to open as the truth emerged. This wasn't about control. This was about vulnerability. This was about a need for support, for comfort, for someone to see them in their pain and offer a hand in the midst of it. They had been carrying these feelings of frustration for so long, not knowing how to express them. They saw wasn't directed at the person, was directed at needs, security, peace inside them. Your person, guided by the wisdom and love of God, responded with humility. "There have been times when I've tried to be there for you," they said, their voice gentle, yet full of conviction. "When I've stepped in to help, but maybe I didn't communicate it well enough. I wasn't trying to control you. I was trying to show you that you're not alone, that I'm here for you." Every word was like a seed planted in fertile soil, a seed of healing, a seed of understanding. Your person's words were not an accusation, but an offering of love. They spoke with grace, sharing their perspective not to defend themselves, but to illuminate the truth of their intentions. As they continued, your person shared examples from their heart. "There were moments when I saw you struggling, and I tried to step in, sometimes, perhaps too much. I wanted to be there for you. I wanted to offer you the support you needed. But I realize now that my actions may not have been received the way I intended." Each word carried the weight of love and vulnerability. Your person wasn't perfect, and they didn't claim to be. They simply wanted their friend to know that their heart was in the right place, that their desire was to love, not control. The friend listened, The walls they had built around their heart began to crack and crumble. The bitterness that had clouded their perspective for so long started to melt away, replaced with clarity and understanding. The anger they had been holding onto wasn't truly about your person. It was about their own fears, their own unmet needs, and their own pain. As they took a deep breath, they spoke softly, their voice filled with a sense of realization. "I think I was just frustrated," they admitted. "I didn't know how to express it, and it came out all wrong. I'm sorry." Your person's heart lightened as the burden of anger and misunderstanding was lifted. They smiled warmly, offering forgiveness without hesitation. "It's okay," they said, their voice gentle but firm, grounded in the truth of God's love. "I'm just glad we talked. Communication is everything, right?" In that moment, your person's words were not just words. They were the embodiment of God's love. They were a living example of forgiveness, understanding, and grace. When they rejoined the group, the atmosphere had changed. The tension that had once hung in the air like a heavy cloud had dissipated. The heaviness was replaced with understanding and peace. Your person's decision to listen, to understand, and to respond with grace had transformed the situation. The relationship was no longer tainted by harsh words or misunderstandings. Instead, it had been strengthened by a willingness to grow and heal together. The bond between them was now grounded in a deeper understanding of each other, a deeper connection rooted in the love of God. The night wasn't the same as it had been before the argument. It was better. The air felt lighter, filled with the fragrance of healing. Your person had taught everyone present a valuable lesson, one that echoed the very teachings of Christ. Love isn't just about standing firm in the face of conflict. Sometimes, love is about being vulnerable. It's about listening with a heart of understanding and choosing to see the bigger picture. It's about choosing reconciliation, even when it's hard. It's about choosing forgiveness, even when the world tells us to hold on to grudges. Through this simple act of grace, your person had demonstrated that true love, God's love, is about reconciliation, healing, and growth. It is through communication, understanding, and forgiveness that we are able to build lasting connections with others. The bond between your person and their friend had been restored, not by defending themselves, but by humbling themselves before each other, allowing God's love to flow through them and into the relationship. This was a moment of spiritual awakening, a moment where both hearts were open to the transformative power of love and grace. In the end, it wasn't the words that were spoken that mattered. It was how your person chose to respond. They chose love. They chose vulnerability. They chose to step into the light of God's wisdom and show grace when it was most needed. And in doing so, they created a space for healing, understanding, and the deepening of their relationship. They chose to embody God's love in the midst of conflict, showing that true love isn't about winning an argument. It's about winning hearts. If you believe in the power of love and the strength of vulnerability, show your support by subscribing to the channel and leaving a comment. The strength of our connections depends on our willingness to truly see one another as God sees us, with grace and understanding. Let us be a reflection of His love to the world. If you feel called to support this mission of spreading divine messages, consider contributing through a super thanks. Whether it's $5, $10, $20, or more, your generosity helps us share these angelic messages with the world. Together, we can build a community of faith, hope, and love, a community where we uplift each other, support each other, and heal together through the power of God's love.